just don't work on you.
Here we go, 10:22 on the second day of November. State Representative Amy Elik joins us now, and we're there, crunch time. I got to ask you, how are you feeling? Is everything going okay?
It's going well, and yes, next Tuesday is Election Day. Every candidate that's on the ballot is ready for it to be over and get past November 8th, but it's been going well.
Absolutely. And I got to ask you just right off the bat, this is your first time seeking re-election. How is this a little bit different than the going into it the first time just running for an elected spot? Now you're trying to keep it. Is it a little bit different field this time?
It is a little bit different field, but also in 2020, of course, we were running in the midst of COVID.
Right.
So there were a lot of, last time, canceled events, canceled parades. It was a little bit less hectic, I guess, in the evenings, but now all the groups and organizations are having their events. So we're definitely busy. Everybody is very, very busy. And so that's a little bit different. But also, I'm still the state representative.
Right.
I'm not just campaigning. I'm still the state representative. So there's a lot of work going on in the district office. And I think as more people see my name in their mailbox, they go, oh, wait, I need to call her about this problem that I have.
Right.
And so it's very busy in the district office too, and we're still serving people there.
You know what? I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you, because now you're right. You had COVID where you could kind of take it easy at night. No Halloween parades or, Memorial Day parades or all the other things you're doing. Well, I got to ask you, because we do interviews a little bit different. We all kind of know who you are a little bit, but for the voters that don't, or someone that just moved into town, share with us your story a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. I am the current state representative for the 111th district, but that's a 2-year term, so I haven't been the state rep for very long, just asking for my second term from voters. So I'm born and raised Godfrey and Alton, always lived here, other than the 4 years that I went away and went to school at the University of Illinois, where I got my degree in accounting, came back home and worked for many years in public accounting here in Alton. So I worked for a CPA firm. We did audits, tax returns, consulting, worked with small and medium-sized businesses, local governments, very, very busy portfolio of clientele and a lot of different clientele, and it really got my I learned so much just about the community,
Right.
but also just in various different industries. Coming from that background, though, too, you certainly see the financial dysfunction of the state of Illinois that's been going on for a long,
Right.
long time.
Right.
And it's very frustrating to a certified public accountant to have to watch that.
I was going to ask you, not to cut you off, because that you segued perfect into why did you decide to run and get into the craziness. Well, it makes sense now.
Sure. It's definitely something I think we need more CPAs in Springfield. I'm one of 2 in the entire General Assembly between the House and the Senate. So we definitely need more financial-minded people there to make sure that the state gets on track financially. And so that just years of frustration. We have high taxes, the corruption. Those are just very difficult things for CPAs and others to watch and say, well, this just has to change. So eventually, I was actually also involved in my local township as a township trustee for 7 years before I became state rep, and just watching some of the policies that are inflicted on citizens and taxpayers and townships and local governments and throughout the state, it just gets you to a level of frustration that I decided I wanted to try to do something about it.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of different because the candidates we've had on so far are running for office. We aren't really getting a lot that want to, come on to talk about the re-election bid. But I want to ask you, what's one of those legislative successes that you had that you're kind of going to always have no matter what happens with this race?
Oh, sure. One thing that I'm very proud of, I'm proud of a lot of things, but one thing that I'll mention is the bill that I worked with on a local constituent regarding transportation of foster children. And this is one of just a great example of how residents can suggest ideas and let me know what issues they're having with government, and then let's see what we can do about it. But a local constituent came to me and said, I really have some issues with I'm a foster parent,
Right.
and the transportation that the state provides between the foster home and the birth home is dangerous. And unhealthy for my foster child, and I'm very concerned. So we wrote a bill that puts very specific requirements on transportation providers that the state contracts with. So very common sense, though. They have to have a license. They have to have, if they're using their personal vehicle, they have to make sure it's maintained. They have to use the air condition when it's hot. They have to use the heat when it's cold. And they have to make sure that they pass background checks and that they are qualified to drive those kids, because foster parents may be putting their child in a car with someone they don't know, and it's very distressing. And frankly, the common sense aspect of it, it's sad that we have to say those things in statute, but we have to do it. We did it, and it went through unanimously, and I'm very, very proud of that bill.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you hit on that common sense thing. How many type of pieces or just type of situations or scenarios kind of similar to that do you guys face every day where you're going, hello, that should be kind of just an obvious one that you're going to have to put into some type of legislative measure? It
happens weekly at least. The topics that come through our district office are wide-ranging and varied and very serious for the people that call. And so I always encourage people, make sure you call. We'll try to figure out what we can do. It's a little bit like putting puzzle together and pulling information from various sources and making sure that we find the right people to help. We had somebody call this week that had an issue actually in another state. And so we made a call to a state rep in that state out east, and we're trying to work, to solve the problem that's affecting him here. We have issues with long-term care facilities. We have issues with a lot of issues with void cards and concealed carry cards. That has just gone on and on for years, and I know people know that. So the variety of issues lends towards finding solutions and making sure that they're working for people.
Absolutely. And there's a plethora of issues that have really kind of taken center stage in this midterm season. And I might we kind of stick away from the policy and stuff because we all know about the Safety Act and how it's really not I'm not going to give my opinion on it, but it's out there and it's kind of starting to get a lot of bipartisan support to maybe alter some of this stuff and look into it. But I want to ask you this before we might go into that, and that's just the campaign itself, because there's so many people you meet, there's so many faces and so many individuals that kind of give you ideas or trying to talk to you. What's a moment of this campaign so far that you go, you know what, if I lose, I lose, but that moment will stick with me for a while?
Oh my goodness, there's probably so many, but I think it's the support that I get from people that I don't know and don't know me, and they just say, you've been the most accessible and transparent legislator we've had. I mean, that makes me so proud and so excited and want to continue to do it. So I think it's a lot of little moments, but it's where people say, I don't know you, but you're doing a great job. Keep it up. We see what you're doing. And that's very gratifying, of course, because we work really, really hard.
I bet. And another part that you guys have to deal with as a state rep is this very short turnover time that, it seems like right when you kind of get into the swing of things, well, you're already having to start to look towards the re-election campaign and all that. And I mean, what's the process of you get into office? How long do you have to really kind of just breathe for about a couple of minutes?
There's no time to breathe.
Right, okay.
There's really no time to breathe. So, and I'll give an example of that. The election is next Tuesday. The very following week, we are back in Springfield for the first of 2 weeks of veto sessions. So we'll go for 3 days the week after the election, and then we'll go for 3 more days after Thanksgiving. And then we're being told to reserve January 4th through 11th for the lame duck session. Okay. So there's really not a lot of time to breathe, and you just keep going, though. I will say my experience as a CPA, especially in public accounting, I often said 2 years ago, I really think that's great experience. I didn't realize kind of the soft skills would be such great experience, too, because as a CPA in public accounting, you're constantly switching gears, and you get a phone call that switches what you were planning on doing that day, and you have various different clients in various different industries, and you're always jumping back and forth between different things. So I think that's actually great experience for a public servant that's going to Springfield, because we don't get a lot of time to breathe, but we are doing really important things.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, you're kind of seeing how certain budgets go, and probably not the most efficient one we have right now in the state. But I want to ask you, you've met so many voters and so many prospective voters. What's the biggest problem that you've been hearing from them and that they want you to address if you're reelected?
High taxes in the state of Illinois, hands down,
Really?
is the problem. I think there was just an article the other day that I saw regarding, taxes in Illinois being higher during the last 4 years than they have been, and I think we all feel that. You don't even have to look at the numbers. We feel it, right?
Right.
We feel it in our cost of living. We feel it in our, when we open our electric bill, we go to the gas pump. Everybody's feeling the effect of high prices, and everyone's demanding that Illinois get their tax situation under control.
Right.
So we did offer some temporary tax relief to people that they're getting in their mailboxes and in their bank accounts, and it's not a lot. Granted, it's not a lot, but I supported temporary, but I want to make it permanent
Right.
too. And we do that by making sure that Illinois is fiscally sound and not robbing Peter to pay Paul and investing in things that are not what people want us to invest in. So that's where my experience again comes in handy.
I bet. And that's what's really neat, because so many times, you might have, an individual running that's just, and no shade of anyone that's running as, an entertainer, whoever did stuff, but, because we all have different backgrounds and different skill sets, but it seems like a CPA is definitely a good type of set of skills you would like to have. I want to ask you this, with all this going on, we always hear the big, every 4 years, the big election, everyone wants to vote in that one. But I've always said, from the beginning to, since I can remember when I was 14, that local elections are the most important. And I think you can agree with me on that. And if you could maybe kind of dumb it down for the audience, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I get hit all the time on this text line for being mean, just tell us how important these local elections are, because this directly affects us, unlike, some of the federal legislation that might be passed, right?
Definitely. And coming from a background as a township trustee, I can definitely agree with you that the local elections are so important, and not just those ones in November, but the ones that are going to be coming up in April for school board and library board. And I think people have a renewed focus on those, because during COVID, we saw the effect of policies, not just at the state level and the national level, but at the local level too. And people really started paying attention to that, which I think is great. I loved informed voters, and I always encourage people to be informed. And so, yeah, absolutely, the local offices are just vitally important. And I encourage people to go to those meetings. If you're frustrated because you're hearing things at that's going on in schools or going on at the go to the meetings. Again, township trustee for 7 years.
Right.
They're not exciting, not usually, and that's fine. But they are so important, and you really get the hang of what's coming before them and what they have to vote on and what information they have in front of them to vote on.
Absolutely. And, something that I always want to highlight, too, when we talk, campaign season, and they don't, it seems like they don't get a lot of love, but I always will show it, is the families of candidates, because they go through just as much as you guys do, and maybe even a little bit more. How has your family been with this re-election bid? Are they really supportive of this?
They're wonderfully supportive. I will say, so my husband, Don, we've been married 25 years. He's wonderful. He just takes everything in stride, and I'm so blessed. So when I might be upset about something, he just brings me down to it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. My daughter's away at college, so excuse me, she doesn't see a lot of the ads and things like that. She's absolutely fine and supportive. My son's in high school. He's great. Takes after my husband. Excuse me. I will say 2 years ago, I was very conscious of making sure that my household was supportive.
Right.
And certainly the rest of my family is too, but I didn't realize how hard it would be on my mom. Oh. And so I kind of look back and go, man, I don't know if I prepared her well enough for what was coming. And it's really hard to see your kid's face on TV and hear bad things and terrible pictures in the mailers and things like that. So, Mom, I'm sorry. But she is 100% supportive and has been wonderful. And I know that she has a kinship with other candidates' moms as well, because I've met some of those moms, and I say, you need to talk to my mom. You guys need to have a little support group or something, because it's really hard on moms, as it would be for me if it was my kid.
Absolutely. And it seems like, each time we have an election is it gets worse and worse. The campaign, it seems like it starts the day after the election now, for especially this time, 2024, it seems like it's going to be that way. How is this election different than the last one you were in?
Well, I think maybe I'll first start with what hasn't changed is personal attacks on my views and saying that I'm for something or against something or that I'm extreme, those things I think do not serve the voters well at all. Attack my record, that's fine. But, ascribing some extreme view to me that's not accurate, I think that turns people off and discourages them from voting. So,
Right.
So I think that, unfortunately, I would say happened 2 years ago and is still happening today. I've been very careful to talk about records and what I have accomplished and what I hope to continue to accomplish. So I think that it's just a responsibility of all candidates to be honest with voters.
Absolutely. And, we have a week left, or not even a week now. We got 6 days, maybe, but who's counting down to the second? Not us. And I want to ask you, what are you looking forward? What's your goal or plans this week? Because this is the crunch time. You're out there doing everything you can do. What's that going to kind of entail for you? And how can voters kind of follow along? Are you guys having a watch party on November 8th?
We're going to probably be at our campaign office just watching results come in. And we will be hunkered down, probably watching results coming in on Tuesday night from various different precincts and seeing what the numbers look like. This week is a little strange, I think, for candidates because you've really done everything you can do publicly. Your
Right.
mail is in the mail. Your ads are cut. You've kind of got all those plans already in place. They were in place a while back so that you could make sure to meet all the deadlines for mail and digital and all that kind of stuff. So our thing is we are knocking on doors every day.
Right.
Just knocking on hundreds and hundreds of doors between now and next Tuesday.
Absolutely. And for people that want to know more or follow along, what's your website to get that kind of final word out? And give us your kind of elevator pitch. We have a couple of minutes left. Give us that pitch again on why you would like to be reelected as our state representative.
Sure. Well, my website is amyelik.com, AMYELIK.com. That's the easiest place to get a hold of me or look and see, what I've been working on. And I'm on Facebook as well, Amy Elik for State Representative. I guess my final pitch, I guess you could say, to voters would be just to let them know that I made promises 2 years ago that I feel I've kept. And some of those promises are to be an advocate for our region and for the citizens here in the Metro East. I feel that I've done that both with my advocacy for the region in Springfield, with my votes in Springfield. I've listened to what the voters are asking of me. I also pledged to make sure that the district office was focused on customer service and helping people with state issues. I'm very proud of my staff there. They are fantastic, really. And when I'm not there, they're there speaking for me and working for me to make sure that people get the customer service that they deserve from a state office. So that's a promise that I made, and I feel that I've kept that promise. A couple other things I wanted to mention. I have declined taking part in the lawmaker pension program.
Really?
It's not hard. You just sign a form and say you decline participation in the lawmaker retirement program. I don't think that taxpayers should have to pay for my retirement plan. So I will never be part of the pension burden that the state has, which is of course a major problem of the unfunded liabilities that we have.
One question that came in from the text line, and I wanted to ask this just because we keep getting texts coming in, is the Safety Act. Where do you stand on that? And that's not from me to all you guys watch and I get crucified, just a text question.
Sure. I am opposed to the Safety Act. I think that when you have dozens and dozens of states' attorneys, actually 100 of the 102 states' attorneys in the state of Illinois are opposed to it as well. But you get dozens and dozens of lawsuits that have already taken place on this act. This is a bipartisan opposition. This is not just me saying this. This is bipartisan opposition to a plan that people are fearful of, that it could put more people, dangerous criminals, back out on the street. So I'm opposed to the Safety Act.
Absolutely. And one last time, guys, State Representative Amy Elik, once again, how can people find you? What's the website?
Sure, AmyElik.com.
Awesome. And guys, remember on Tuesday night, you can watch exclusive coverage right here on RiverBender.com as we have our analytics, we have some commentating, and we'll get phone calls and all that from the local reps, state senators, and more, whoever win. And Amy, good luck on Tuesday, and thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you, CJ. Appreciate it.
No problem. 10:41. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of our daily show in downtown.